Welcome back to 1 Count to 10 Martial Arts School. Copyrighted 1, patented 1. The only school, Commandment Way. In the traditional Chinese language, is pronounced Tia Yu Do, which in the English translation means 10 Law Way. Okay, today class, we are covering a very serious subject, and it is a depressing subject, very serious subject of debunking fake master and their masters, and fake grandmaster and their grandmasters. People who claim fraudulently to be teachers, instructor, master or grandmaster of various martial art and arts. It's a very difficult subject, and unfortunately in the martial art and arts community, in this day and age, in 2019, we're dealing with a big troublemaker in our community, claiming to be, many times, to be a real master of various martial art. The subject is a difficult one, and it always pertains to and deals specifically with power tripping. People is becoming corrupted by power and by the temptation of being a real master, corrupted by the power associated with it, basically power tripping. Okay. So stay tuned for the next segment, and we'll discuss debunking fake master and their grandmaster. Welcome back to 1 Count to 10 Martial Arts School. Copyrighted 1, patented 1. Okay, class, today we are discussing debunking fake master and our masters and our grandmaster and our grandmasters. People in the martial art and arts community claiming fraudulently to be teacher and their instructor and their master and their grandmaster of various martial art and arts. It's a depressing subject. Okay, to begin with, I think probably the first point to begin with is that being a master in the first place, let alone a grandmaster, which is totally hysterical being grandmaster, but being a master in the first place involves so many things. It involves, no matter what, one, the study of all things of the universe. Two, the defending of all life. And three, in order to become a real master in any or all and every given martial art or arts, a person must be involved with and regarding and have trained in a, quote, diligent daily practice for a minimum of at least 10 years in a row, every day. Diligent daily practice for at least 10 years minimum to become a real licensed and authentic master. So it takes a long time. And in this example, we are, well, it's important to mention in this example that we're discussing humans. Now, as some of you may realize in the class, there's such a thing as relativity and lifespan relativity. So, for example, cats people may live on Earth, for example, in these times, in these spaces, for a shorter duration of time space, for a shorter lifespan than a human does. So, with regard to other life forms other than human, the minimum requirement of diligent daily practice time frame may vary somewhat, may be shorter, because things are relative. There's lifespan relativity. So for a cat person, it may require less time space to become a real master. Okay, with these things in mind, unfortunately we have a big problem and troublemaker in the martial arts community right now. And his name, he's a very famous person. And before I mention his name, first of all, I would like to mention that this particular person does demonstrate and show very good form, actually, in at least one martial art, Kung Fu. And I've studied his film and his filmographies and his movies and his art and his form and reforms, and he does demonstrate and show extensive training and good form in Kung Fu in the first place, which is good, always, always. And you do honor and does honor Master Confucius, and or Grandmaster Confucius at this time space. Grandmaster Confucius may very easily be a Grandmaster at this time space. So, my man that we're discussing here does greatly honor Confucius and the Shaolin Temple and Kung Fu. Always. Okay, with that much being said, I'll just get to my notes here, class. Alright, 1 count to 10 martial arts school, chiropractor 1 pounded 1 in 1 universe. 4401N, Scandal case log and notes. Debunking fake master and our masters and our grandmaster and our grandmasters. And unfortunately, as I mentioned in class, at this time space in the martial arts community, we have a troublemaker. And I'm not picking on this one person in particular too much, but this person has become a big problem in the community. And with repeated attempts to be a real master, and repeated claims that he is a real master when he is not. Not yet, anyway. All right, the person that we're dealing with in this particular report and story is Jet Li, famous actor and a film star, and famous martial artist too in the first place. Famous and a good martial artist. All right, I was recently viewing a film by Jet Li titled at our school's home base, YouTube, but also possibly elsewhere on the internet and in the media. A video he has titled Jet Li Talks About Bruce Lee, Honest Comment. Okay, so I analyzed the video, and this report deals with not only this particular video that I'm talking about, that I just mentioned, but also with the other films and filmography and formative forms and history of Jet that I've studied for many years now. All right, Jet begins his segment with a title in the video stating Bruce Lee Real Fight. Now, as many of you may know, martial art and arts, including mastery and grandmastery, is not about fighting. It's about avoiding fighting. So, avoiding fighting, not fighting. And as Master Bruce Lee used to say, if he's still around, probably still does say, in his Jeet Kune Do, You could call it the art of fighting without fighting. And therefore, clearly, he do demonstrate avoiding fighting. So the title that I see in Jet's film concerns me. It's Bruce Lee, Real Fight. Okay, my notes, class. All right, Jet tries to make fight, quote, fight. Jet tries to make fight and illegally tries to use Master Bruce's good name and earned reputation as a drawing tool or a draw tool to try and get fame and fortune and money. Trying to capitalize on Bruce's good name and fame and fortune that Bruce earned. Master Jun Fan, otherwise known as Bruce Lee, is definitely, literally, and technically one of the greatest masters of all time, space, and in the entire universe. Always, regardless, will always, period. It's a very hard-earned title. Extremely difficult to earn, and it's extremely difficult to become a master anyway in the first place, let alone one of the greatest. All right, so let me say this again. Jet tries to make fight and illegally tries to use Master Bruce's good name and earned reputation as a draw tool to try and get fame and fortune and money, trying to capitalize on Bruce's good name and fame and fortune that Bruce earned. All right, also in the film, Jet rattles off a list of several styles of martial arts, art and arts, claiming to have trained in all of them. Several of them. Claiming to have trained in all of them when he really only ever trained in Kung Fu. All right, also Jet Li, quote, repeatedly, end quote, repeatedly claims fraudulently that he is a master of this and of that, listing again several types of martial art and arts, listing several types of martial art, ranging from Dajijuan, otherwise known as Tai Chi in the West, to Wushu, to Kung Fu, and he sometimes mentioned specialized styles, such as long fists and the white crane, and various some of the specialized styles in Kung Fu and or other arts. But all right, so Dajijuan, Tai Chi, Wushu, and Kung Fu, and he lies, saying he has, quote, mastered, end quote, various forms of various martial arts, when he really only ever trained in Kung Fu. He really only trained in Kung Fu. And he is not a master of Kung Fu, nor of any martial art nor arts yet, though he has trained extensively in Kung Fu. And as I stated before, his form is fairly pretty impressive, actually, in Kung Fu. But all right, Jet Li does demonstrate quite a bit of knowledge of Kung Fu, extensive training in it, actually, and he has some good forms of it. But he also exhibits massive signs and symptoms of drug abuse, exhibiting very clear psychosis and substance-induced psychosis and or psychoses. We suspect methamphetamines and cocaine at minimum, and possibly other type of amphetamine, speed, at minimum, and maybe LSD, judging by his facial expressions, body language, and his demeanor, and his outright aggression and violence in his combat. He strikes out over and over and over, lashing out at his opponent or opponents in vicious attack after attack. And he has massive problem with and regarding repeating. He repeats his attacks and assault over and over and over, focusing and fixating on repeating. Focusing and fixating on repeating. All right, Jet tries desperately to legally use Bruce Lee's good name to try to associate with Master Bruce. First saying Bruce is a good martial artist. yet also saying insults and insulting Bruce, and criticize Bruce's work and reputation, which is totally contradictory. You know, at first breath, he say Bruce is a good martial artist, and he kind of say it lightly, and then the next breath, next sentence, he criticizes Bruce's work and reputation, and insults him, and try to make fun of him, and he criticizes Bruce's good work and reputation, which is totally contradictory. He tried to compliment Bruce, and he insulted him too. It's contradictory, and it's paradox, and it's very paradoxical too. All right, Jet Li tries to base his attacks and counterattacks on various things, including heritage, claiming he has trained in traditional Chinese art and arts, but that Bruce is only trained in Filipino and or Philippines art and arts. He tries to make war between China and Philippines, and try to make himself more Oriental than Master Bruce, trying to beat Bruce on a heritage basis, saying he is more Chinese than Bruce. And he tries to say his art and arts is more Chinese than Bruce, and that Bruce's art and arts is Filipino and not Chinese. So it's difficult. He's dealing with things on a heritage basis. All right, Jet is obviously on drugs and steroids somewhat, possibly vitamin supplements also. His blood pressure is elevated. His respirations are elevated. His facial expression and expressions show clear total psychosis. He criticizes Bruce, claiming Bruce's art and arts is likened to dancing and superficial, and says his own art and arts is traditional and real, but Bruce's is not, etc. So it's very dishonorable. All right, Jet Li has every type of problem there is, including regarding martial art and arts. He continually spouts names of many various martial art and arts, trying the association game, what I term the association game here at school. We call it the association game. Trying to associate himself with many art by simply mentioning the names of such art and arts. Though he may have, as I said, he may have some extensive knowledge of the names of such things, but his extensive training really is in, at least in Kung Fu. All right, Jet straight up lies, claiming that Master Bruce has stolen from martial art and arts and just created from many martial art and arts that Master Bruce studied. And he studied many, of course, but he claims that Master Bruce has stolen from many martial arts and just created a hybrid martial art from other established martial art and arts, then called his real martial art name and style of Jeet Kune Do, and then call it his real martial art and name and style of his Jeet Kune Do, which is a very real martial art, and not stolen and not a hybrid based on other art. So he lies, claiming Bruce has stolen from many martial arts and created a hybrid and just called it Jeet Kune Do. And when Bruce always, regardless of all, always honor all the peoples and art he studied and trained in and regarding. And Bruce never steal from any nor all other art nor arts. Now, as many of you may know, Bruce was chastised and criticized greatly in his life and in his martial art instructor and teaching career for just that, for having created and invented and founded his own martial art. It's typically frowned upon in the martial arts community anyway, founding your own art, because it's so difficult. It's a very difficult and complex subject. But at any rate, Bruce endured it, and he went through much criticism and chastising in the martial arts community, for creating his own art, and somewhat based on the similar type of thing, such as various people's claiming fraudulently that he had stolen from the other established martial arts and just created a hybrid and called it his own, which is not the truth. He did not steal, and he did not create a hybrid. Jeet Kune Do is authentic and real, and it is an original type of martial art. Always relative, always that. All right, so Bruce never steal from any nor all of the martial arts. You don't get to be one of the greatest masters in the universe and of all time, space, always relative, always, and steal from other martial arts. All right, and Jet continuously steals images and films of Master Bruce and portrays himself alongside Bruce. Again, with the association game. Trying to use Bruce's images and films and reputation to establish himself through association. All right, Jet Li lies, saying he is a teacher. All this, and he says he's a teacher of martial art and arts, saying he is giving lesson in his videos. Yuck. Jet is violent, and he strike violently and suicidally. He strike improperly with sensitive areas of his body, damaging himself, like the tops of his feet, which in Commandment Way and TF I teach not to strike with the tops of your hands to the tops of your feet, because there's a lot of nerves on the tops of our hands and on the tops of our feet, and so it's very easy to damage yourself if you strike with these surfaces. So I teach in Commandment Way not to strike with the tops of your hands and feet. So let me say this again. He strike violently and suicidally. He strike improperly with sensitive area of his body, damaging himself, like the tops of his feet, which I teach not to strike with unless it is an emergency situation. And just basically, I teach not to strike with the tops of the hands and feet because there's so many nerves there, it can cause bad damage. All right, in closing, I do say this too. Jet Li has a massive problem with elitism, which is a problem we have seen in the East, and not only in the East, but on Earth, for example. Not only on Earth, and not only in the East, but we've seen it many times in history, throughout history, in the East, on Earth. Throughout history of China and the People's Republic of China, and in the Orient, peoples trying to dominate on a heritage and or genetic basis, right down to its actual bloodlines and bloodline interlines and heritage and nationality. His video is titled, Jet Li Talks About Bruce Lee, Honest Comment. So, the title of his video is Fraudulent. Fraudulent. So anyway, Jet Li Talks About Bruce Lee, Honest Comment at YouTube and or elsewhere on the internet. All right, so, but at any rate, that's about mostly what I have to say regarding Jet at this time space, is that, for one, he's not a real master of any nor all nor every martial art nor arts yet, though he does have some extensive training and does show good form in Kung Fu. All right, thankfully, we do see a good man and friend and confidant of Master Bruce, very good famous student of Master Bruce's, Dan Inosanto. A very good student of Jeet Kune Do, a practitioner of Jeet Kune Do, and also an Eskrima expert, defending Bruce and pointing out the actual truth regarding Bruce and his training and his development of his Jeet Kune Do and his training of his students, Bruce's training of his students, including Dan himself. And Dan honor Bruce always too, and always relative, always too. He is obviously helping to defend Bruce from peoples like Jet Li, and to defend the universe from peoples like Jet, whom conduct themselves in such an evil, criminal, and ill way. It's gross how bad Jet Li has gotten and is at this time space, 2019. He is in hideous shape and very, very bad condition right now. Jet Li may have Alzheimer's disease, as evidenced by his repeated brain flexing and neurological, pathological, attacking behavior. And for those of you who don't know much about Alzheimer's disease, go to YouTube and or elsewhere on the internet and study Alzheimer's disease to find out what it is and find out the nature of Alzheimer's disease in your training in Commandment Way and or other arts. All right. Okay, that concludes this report. So, class, suffice to say, well, of course, we all love Jet Li, always, always. He's a good person, always. And he's done and been plenty of good in his life and his existence so far already. As I always teach, including Jet Li, all is good and does good, always, always, including Jet. And he honored many in his martial art training and his practice, but currently, as I stated, he is not yet a master. And so it is quite illegal and evil and criminal and ill for him to be claiming that he is, let alone repeatedly. Hundreds of times he claimed it, hundreds of times. So it's a tough subject, and it's a problem in the community. And so show some credit here. Special associated credits to Autumn Moon for their traditional Chinese music medicine. Thank you, Autumn Moon, for the help in today's session and training session. And so we're just letting the community know, and the martial arts community already knows this very well regarding Jet, but Jet is not yet a master. All right. Thank you for tuning in again to YouTube, Universal Place, another training session and more lesson under lessons of Ten Commandment Way. With me, one Sir Grandmaster, Mr. King Robert Michael Crofton God One, your eternal sensei, eternal martial art instructor of Ten Commandment Way. Only, always, regardless, will always, period. All right, class. So, we're faced with what to do regarding Jet. And unfortunately, you know, martial art and arts is a sensitive subject to begin with, because it deals with technique under techniques that could potentially harm people's. So, such information and knowledge and technique under techniques in any and every and all given martial art and arts, including Ten Commandment Way, is always very sensitive information and always guarded very closely. So we're concerned about Jet, and this is my call to the martial arts community to do something about it. We have to do something and be something good. All has to be and do something good about and regarding all evil. Always, always, period. Because what is the alternative, class? What is the alternative if we don't be and do something good about and regarding all evil, always, always? The universe says. If the universe doesn't be and do something good about it. What's the alternative? Do nothing? Be nothing? I don't think that's a good alternative. And in reality, for example, to just briefly in closing your class, an example of why we have to all has to always be and do good, and be and do something good regarding evil, always, always. Why is because, well, what's the alternative? For example, what if someone gets harmed or murdered in your neighborhood, and they're found deceased or passed away on the street, and what's the alternative? I mean, not investigating it, not trying to find who did it, who the guilty person is, who harmed them and who murdered them, and to bring them to justice. You just leave the body lay there and never investigate it, and never try and find the person guilty of committing the crime, and never bring them to justice? No. That is not acceptable. So one example of why we have to always be and do something good about regarding all evil is right. Because the alternative is evil. We have to. Okay. All right, that concludes this report and this training session class. And we'll see you next time. At 1 count to 10, martial arts go conquer 1 bounded 1. For more lessons of Tien, you go. And thank you, Autumn Moon, for the music. See you next time on YouTube, the universal place. Let's pray for Jet to stop making such fraudulent claim. All right, class. We're closing out this training session with a jam session. The Queen Latifah and her crew's tune, Ladies First. Let's jam all the way out. A female rapper with the best sense of Queen Latifah is a perfect specimen. My sister, can I get some? Sure, Moni Love, grab the mic and get tongue. Yo, praise me not for being simply what I am. Born in Louisiana, down American. You see exactly where I'm coming from. You want righteous rhyme and I'm
myself and get paid. And the material that has no meaning, I wish to play. Pay me every bit of your attention, like mother, like daughter. I would also like to mention, I wish for you to bring me to the rhythm of which is now systematically given. Desperately stressing, I'm the daughter of a sister, the mother of a brother, the brother of another. Plus one more. All four have a job to do, we doing it respect due. To a mother who's the root of it, and next up is me, the MONIELOVE, and I'm first, cause I'm an LADI. Contact and in fact, styling gets harder. Cooling on the scene with my European partner, laying down track after track, waiting for the climax. When I get there, that's when I tax the next man or the next woman. It doesn't make a difference, keep the competition coming. And I recite chapter in verse. The title of this recital is Ladies First. Step out into the night. Queens of civilization are on the mic. The scene is right, the crowd is hype. I expel the whack and those who bite. Why? Cause I'm that type. Swaying with beats 45 King style. He wants me to sing, but I'll swing so meanwhile. A footnote for the opposite sex. Oh, you rip the mic, I'll rock it next. Flex. You never catch me at my worst. You get the drift? It's ladies first.
All right. Appreciate it, Queen Latifah and her crew for the hit song, Ladies First. And thanks for helping us jam out and keep us all in shape and have good health. Appreciate the subject matter of the universe. We're all about it, school here. All right, we'll see you kids next time at school. Courtesy of YouTube, Universal Place.